Welcome. Looking in this video at break-even analysis. The principle of break-even analysis is quite straightforward. How much do we need to make and sell of a product at a given price in order to start making a profit? The point at which we make enough, and important this is, to sell that product, the point at which we've sold enough just to cover all our costs, so revenue and costs are equal, is called the break-even point. Now this first sheet, which is just a temporary sheet, it shows you the very basics, and in many examination questions this is maybe all you need. So in this example, imagine that you are making shoes and you're able to sell them at the moment for $15 a pair of shoes. Two categories of cost. Variable cost will be the cost of materials, leather, laces, soles and so on, and we set this at $5 in this example. The fixed costs are the costs that you can't avoid. It doesn't matter whether you make one pair of shoes, 100 pair of shoes, or whatever, but these costs have to be paid. These are the overheads: wages, electricity, factory rent, etc. And this is, in this example, it's set at $10,000. So what you do is study the data and keep altering the costs until you get the hang of it. So let's have a quick look at the basics. So what we got? Variable cost here, $5. Fixed cost, $10,000. Selling price, $15. The figure we want to extract from this is called contribution. Now, what this is the amount that each pair of shoes contributes to these fixed costs. So, if we're selling shoes at $15 and the variable cost is $5, then the mathematics is simple. It's 15 minus 5 to give us 10. So each pair of shoes contributes $10. So what we now need to know is how many $10 do we need to make to cover those fixed costs. So it's 10,000 divided by 10 gives us 1,000 units. That is the break-even number of units. So let's change the figure. Let's suppose that the variable costs were to go up $6. This would bring the contribution down to $9, which means we need to make more shoes to break even. So it's important, as the contribution falls, we need to make more and more. Let's imagine that the selling price were to drop through competition. So if I bring that down to $10, my new contribution should be $4. There we go. We now need to make 2,500 units, pairs of shoes in this case, to break even. Let's suppose that competition squeezes us even more and we have to sell the shoes at $8. Getting harder and harder to break even. If the variable costs were to say go up, we cannot make a profit ever. In other words, if there's no contribution, you cannot make a profit. Okay, let's go back to the original figures. What I've now done is I'll remove that sheet. I want to go back to the basic sheet that I've done, because now what I've done is I've plotted this as a diagram. So look down the first column. I'm making shoes in increments of 100. 0, 100, 200 and so on. And imagine I'm in a small little workshop and I can only make up to 1500 pair of shoes in a given time period. That's quite normal that manufacturers will have a limit to how much they can make. So the variable costs, you can play around with the sheet, will be, now in this case if we look at the formula at the top here, it's A9, that's the output, times $D, $3, the dollar anchors the cell, so this D3 is here. So what we do is multiply the output by the variable cost of $5. So 100 times 5 is 500 and so on. So you can see that we're going up in increments of 500 because we're going up, output is going up in increments of 100. Fixed costs stay the same. There we go. Total cost of these two added together. So let's go down and look at this example. 600. We've got 3,000 variable cost. Add that to the 10,000 and we got 13,000. Okay. That's total cost. Now total revenue. Total revenue will be whatever the selling price is multiplied by the number we're selling. So if we're not selling any, there'll be no revenue at all. So let's go to 1,000. Nice simple figure. We sell 1,000 pair of shoes at $15 each. That's this figure here. Therefore, 1,000 times 15 is 15,000. So when we compare the total cost with the total revenue, we can determine whether we're making a profit or a loss. So in the pink highlighted profit loss, we're making losses because we're not making enough revenue to cover our costs. And this is the vital point, because when we make 1,000, it matches this figure up here. In other words, G4, because this was calculated, we can see that that is our break-even point. And after that, if we can go on making and selling more shoes, we can in fact increase our profit. So if the factory can only make 15,000 shoes at max in that time period, it's making $5,000 profit. Plotting that on the graph, so the red matches total revenue. Remember, you can download this sheet from this site. Just look down below. And play around with the data. And the total cost is here. And here's our break-even point. It's here where I've got the arrow pointing. And underneath, that matches 1,000. So we can play around with that. Let's increase the price. That should make it easier to break even. So here we have it. Somewhere between 900 and 1,000 is where we will break even. In fact, it's 909 units. So, play. Let's put that back to 15. And now go to the next sheet. Let's imagine now that the fixed cost cannot stay the same throughout. It's inevitable at some point you're going to need to invest in new capital equipment, maybe pay for a new worker. So what I've done now is see what happens if the fixed costs actually go up at a certain point. So here I've increased fixed costs to 12,000 once we reach a certain output. So I've got 3 points now of fixed costs. 0 to 300, 10,000, so on, 12, 15. So you now got different break-even points. But what's interesting is the graph. You see, the fixed cost, remember what this is. I've now got a fixed cost line. And if you click on the variable line, it highlights the column. It steps up 3 times. And that causes the same impact on the total cost. So, looking at total cost versus revenue, we've got this very interesting line where there are different profits. So where total revenue is higher than total costs, we are in a profit making zone, if you like. Again, play with that. Okay, now anyone that study economics enough know that if you want to sell more of a product, you might have to lower the price in order to attract the additional customers. So this final sheet starts to look a little messy. We've lowered the price. So the selling price, whopping great big 25, but the price goes down and down and down. And if we want to sell up to 15,100, then we might have to drop the price to 16. Now look at the total cost. As you can see, the total cost is stepping up because it's from the previous sheet. The total revenue does take these little dips. In fact, it even drops here. So again, if where the blue line is above the red line, that indicates that we're bringing in more money, that's total revenue, than we're paying out, which is total cost, therefore we're making a profit. So there are still profit zones. That's it. Download the sheet, play until you get the hang of it. Thank you for watching.